Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at, well, Arthur Schopenhauer,
Oh, wow.
specifically The World as Will and Representation.
Right. Yeah.
And he's kind of known for being a bit of a downer, but I think there's way more to his ideas than just, life is suffering.
Right.
So we've got our sources, we've got the book right here, and we're going to really try to understand, how he saw the world, maybe find some wisdom in his unique perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal. It's easy to sort of get caught up in the pessimist label with Schopenhauer. But, when you actually look at his work, he offers a really profound analysis of human experience. He wasn't afraid to really confront these difficult questions. And I think, that's where the real value lies.
Absolutely. So let's get at the heart of it. The World as Will and Representation. Really dives headfirst into this idea of the will.
Yeah.
This driving force of everything.
Right.
And not some, peaceful, benevolent force either. We're talking like blind, relentless, constantly craving.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it, it's kind of like me at an all-you-can-eat buffet,
Okay.
but with, existential implications.
Yeah, that's a great analogy because Schopenhauer saw this will as this fundamental energy, an insatiable force that drives all of existence. And you're right, it's not just about our individual desires. It's this force that is behind, the growth of plants, the movement of planets, like the very fabric of reality.
Okay, so we're all just puppets to this cosmic buffet monster.
In a way, yes.
That's a bit unsettling. But then there's this other layer, the representation part. It's like he's saying, we're not even seeing the real world, just some like filtered version of it.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it like the will is the source code.
Okay.
It's like the raw energy that is driving everything. But we experience it through this lens of perception, through our senses, our minds. And that creates the representation, the world as we experience it.
So it's like we're watching a movie, but we can't see like behind the scenes. That raises a big question, though. How much of what we perceive is actually like objective?
Yeah, and that's the core of Schopenhauer's challenge.
Yeah.
He's saying, our understanding of the world is inherently limited by our individual perspective. Like take color, for example.
Yeah.
We perceive, the redness of an apple. But that redness isn't inherent to the apple itself.
Right,
It's
yes.
our brain interpreting, light waves.
Yeah.
The apple in its essence is beyond our direct grasp.
Wow. That makes you question everything you see. It's like, suddenly realizing the world is in this different language and we're only getting like a rough translation.
Yeah.
But where does the suffering come in? I feel like that's Schopenhauer's, like main jam.
Well, you have to remember that relentless will we were talking about,
Right.
It never stops craving. It never stops striving. And according to Schopenhauer, that is the root of all suffering.
Okay.
We're constantly driven by these desires for food, for status, for love. But even when we achieve these things, the will just churns out new desires. It leaves us in this perpetual state of dissatisfaction.
It's like that feeling when you finally get like the new phone you've been wanting and then 2 weeks later a newer, shinier model comes out.
Yes.
The desire it shifts, But isn't that just life?
No.
Are we all just doomed to this endless cycle of wanting and disappointment?
Schopenhauer certainly saw it that way. He believed that so much of human suffering stems from this fundamental disconnect
Okay.
between like the will's insatiable nature and the temporary nature of satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow, but I think Schopenhauer, he wasn't just trying to like bum everyone out.
Yeah.
He also explored potential ways to break free from this cycle, at least temporarily.
Okay, I'm all ears because constantly upgrading my phone to feel momentarily satisfied sounds a little exhausting.
Right.
So what's the alternative? Did he suggest becoming a monk and like living in a cave?
Not necessarily. While he did advocate for some degree of asceticism, he also saw a powerful antidote to the will's grip in something a bit more accessible.
Go.
Art.
So binging Netflix is actually philosophically sound. I knew there was a reason I liked Schopenhauer.
Well, hold on. It's not just about any kind of entertainment.
Sure.
Schopenhauer, he believed that true art, the kind that really gets you thinking and feeling,
Yeah.
allows us to step outside of our individual desires and connect with something larger than ourselves.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this. Like when you listen to a piece of music that just moves you to your core,
Right.
or you stand in awe of a breathtaking painting, you kind of forget about yourself for a moment.
Exactly. That's the kind of experience that Schopenhauer was talking about. He called it aesthetic contemplation.
Okay.
When we engage with art on this level, we're not driven by our usual desires or anxieties.
Right.
We're simply present with the beauty and the truth that the artwork reveals.
So he saw this as a way to, like, momentarily silence the will's demands.
Precisely, he believed that art, at its best, allows us to contemplate the ideas, these eternal, unchanging forms that exist beyond the world of appearances. Think of it like this. The will is constantly striving, changing, yearning, but the ideas, they're pure, timeless, and beyond the reach of the will's grasp.
Okay, so art can be like a window into this more peaceful, permanent realm.
You could say that, and by contemplating these ideas through art, we can achieve a state of detachment from our own individual desires, even if it's just for a little while.
So basically, next time I find myself endlessly scrolling through social media, I should just put on some Beethoven and stare at a Monet.
It couldn't hurt, but seriously, Schopenhauer believed that cultivating an appreciation for art can be a powerful tool for navigating the challenges of existence.
Yeah.
It's a way to find moments of peace and beauty amidst the chaos.
This is starting to sound less like gloomy philosopher and more like self-help guru to me. But I'm guessing Schopenhauer didn't stop at art appreciation.
Right.
He probably had some even more radical ideas about dealing with the will right.
You're absolutely right. Art offers temporary relief, but Schopenhauer believed true liberation required something much more drastic: denial of the will.
Denial of the will. That sounds intense. Like, should I cancel all my subscriptions and start living off the grid?
It's not necessarily about giving up all worldly possessions.
Right.
It's more about recognizing the will's influence over us and consciously choosing to resist its demands.
So being aware of those cravings and desires that are constantly popping up.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that require, like, superhuman willpower?
Well, Schopenhauer acknowledged that fully denying the will is incredibly difficult, perhaps even impossible for most people.
Right.
It's more about a gradual process of understanding and disentangling ourselves from its grip.
Okay, so it's about recognizing when we're acting out of pure desire versus genuine need,
Yes.
making conscious choices instead of being swept away by the tide of wanting it.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a sense of detachment from our own desires and finding contentment in a simpler way of being.
But we're denying our individual will. Where does that leave? Things like ambition or striving for personal growth. Isn't that part of what makes us human?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
Schopenhauer didn't advocate for complete passivity. He recognized that certain desires are natural and even necessary for survival.
Right.
But it's the excessive, insatiable cravings that he believed lead to suffering.
So it's more about finding a balance, recognizing which desires are truly serving us and which ones are just keeping us on that endless treadmill.
Precisely. And Schopenhauer believed that cultivating certain virtues could be key in this process. Specifically, he highlighted the importance of compassion.
Compassion. That seems like a bit of a jump.
Yeah.
How does being kind to others help us deny our own will?
Well, Schopenhauer believed that compassion allows us to see beyond the illusion of separateness.
Okay.
Remember, he argued that everything, including ourselves, is ultimately a manifestation of the one will.
So by connecting with others on a deeper level, we're actually recognizing our shared essence.
Exactly. And this realization can lead to a sense of empathy and love that can counteract the self-centered desires that fuel so much of our suffering.
So compassion isn't just a nice thing to do. It's actually a key to unlocking a more peaceful way of being.
You could say that by recognizing our interconnectedness and extending kindness to others, we're essentially weakening the grip of the individual ego, which is where a lot of those insatiable desires reside.
Okay, I'm trying to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about renouncing all worldly pleasures and becoming a hermit.
Right.
It's about understanding the nature of desire, making conscious choices, and cultivating compassion as an antidote to the will's relentless drive.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, Schopenhauer's philosophy wasn't just about personal liberation. He also had a significant impact on the world of art and culture.
Right, we talked about how art can provide a temporary escape from the will's grip, but I know Schopenhauer's ideas also had a ripple effect on other thinkers and artists, right?
Absolutely. He wasn't fully appreciated in his own time, but his work later gained a cult following and influenced some of the most prominent figures of the 19th and 20th centuries.
Who are we talking about here?
Well, for one, Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who famously proclaimed God is dead, Schopenhauer's emphasis on the will as a fundamental force resonated deeply with Nietzsche, even though he eventually developed his own, more life-affirming philosophy.
So Nietzsche was kind of like Schopenhauer's rebellious student.
You could see it that way. And then there's Richard Wagner, the revolutionary composer. He was deeply influenced by Schopenhauer's ideas about music as the most direct expression of the will.
That makes sense. Wagner's operas are known for their intense emotions and sweeping, almost overwhelming scores. It's like he's trying to capture the very essence of this primal force.
Exactly. And even Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, was influenced by Schopenhauer's exploration of the unconscious mind and the power of irrational drives.
Wow, so Schopenhauer's influence extended far beyond the realm of philosophy.
He definitely left his mark on the intellectual landscape, and while his ideas can be challenging, they continue to resonate with people today.
That's what's so fascinating about Schopenhauer. He forces us to confront the big questions, the nature of reality, the roots of suffering, and the possibility of finding meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's a lot to wrap your head around. But I think even if you don't agree with everything Schopenhauer said,
Right.
there's a certain honesty to his work that's kind of hard to ignore.
Absolutely. He doesn't offer any easy answers or try to sugarcoat the difficulties of human existence, but I think that's also what makes him so relevant, even today.
Yeah, it's like we live in a world that's so obsessed with, happiness,
Yeah.
with constantly striving for more, better, faster, and yet so many people are still searching for that elusive, sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, and that's where I think Schopenhauer's insights can be particularly helpful,
Yeah.
He cuts through all the noise and he forces us to confront this reality that lasting happiness might not be found in that endless pursuit of external things.
It's like he's saying, hey, maybe the problem isn't that you haven't achieved enough.
Right.
It's that you're looking for fulfillment in the wrong places.
Exactly. He reminds us that true contentment might lie in something much deeper, quieting the will, accepting the impermanence of things, and finding those moments of peace in the present moment.
It's almost like a radical idea in our, achievement-driven culture,
Yeah.
but when you think about it,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, even if we can't completely deny the will, I think becoming aware of its influence can be a really powerful first step.
It's like recognizing the puppet strings.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we can't quite break free yet, but awareness is the first step towards change, right?
Precisely. It allows us to make more conscious choices, to step off that treadmill of desire when we need to, and to find moments of genuine contentment amidst the chaos.
One thing that really struck me about Schopenhauer
Yeah.
is that while he's often labeled as a pessimist, there's also this sense of hope that's kind of woven through his philosophy.
I agree he acknowledged the prevalence of suffering, but he also offered this path towards liberation,
Yeah.
Might be challenging, but it's there for those who are willing to embark on the journey.
And it's a journey that really starts with understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding ourselves, our desires, and the nature of the world we inhabit.
Well said. Schopenhauer's work is an invitation to look beyond the surface, to question our assumptions, and to try to find a deeper meaning amidst life's complexities.
This has been an incredible deep dive. It's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too, and that's the beauty of engaging with these challenging philosophical ideas.
Right.
They stay with you, they make you question, they make you grow.
So for our listener out there, if Schopenhauer's ideas had piqued your interest, I highly encourage you to explore his work further. The World as Will and Representation is a great starting point.
Yeah.
But he also wrote a number of other fascinating essays and treatises.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to delve into the works of those he influenced, like Nietzsche, Wagner, and Freud.
Right?
You'll be amazed at how Schopenhauer's ideas kind of reverberate through their work.
It's like tracing the threads of a complex tapestry, seeing how ideas connect and evolve over time.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even find yourself applying Schopenhauer's insights to your own life, discovering new ways to navigate the challenges and find moments of peace amidst the chaos.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the world of Arthur Schopenhauer.
A thinker who dared to confront life's big questions.
And offer a unique perspective on the human condition.
We hope this exploration has given you some food for thought, and perhaps even inspired you to embark on your own philosophical journey.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep those minds open, and remember, even in a world driven by a relentless will, there's always the possibility of finding peace, meaning, and maybe even a little bit of beauty along the way.